Welcome, Ladles and Jelly Spoons, new and old, to Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel. This week, we continue our dramatisation of the fall of the House of Usher. Today's episode is called Usher, Usher, All Fall Down. We then offer you an invitation to Strictly Come Dancing with Mr. B. Oh, hang on. We offer you an invitation to Strictly Come Dancing. With Mr. B in the studio today, we have Dickie from Richard York's Wargaming, when no wargame remains unplayed. Mr. B will be asking Dickie what are those games and when can we expect him to start playing them. Meanwhile, for those of you who are more easily pleased, here is 20 minutes-ish of retro gaming rubbish with this month's retrospective review. This month, we're looking at Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec.
Hold you down, 'cause you're a friend, I blame myself. I guess you think it's funny now, it's such a shame, all by myself. 'Cause I don't wanna drag you down, hold you down, 'cause you're a friend, I blame myself. I guess you think it's funny.
Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec is a racing game for the Sony PlayStation 2, developed by Polyphony Digital and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was the first Gran Turismo game released for the PlayStation 2. Originally titled Gran Turismo 2000 during development and whilst on show at E3 2000 and E3 2001, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec was a critical and commercial success and went on to become one of the best-selling video games of all time. Whilst Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec is more graphically advanced than its predecessor, Gran Turismo 2, A-Spec only contains 180 cars to pick from and 19 tracks to race on. Gran Turismo 2 featured approximately 650 cars and 27 tracks. This was due to time constraints and the developers spending much longer on the details of the cars and tracks. Gran Turismo as a series started all the way back in 1992, when Kazuri Yamauchi and 7 other developers began work on the first game in the series, that took them a total of 7 years to complete. Whilst the series has always used its graphics as the main lead in its appeal, the game's large number of licensed vehicles, accurate driving physics emulation, the ability to tune vehicle performance, and the attention to vehicle detail are what the game is known for, and while it's remained popular through all of the PlayStation consoles. The game's subtitle, The Real Driving Simulator, I feel is well deserved. The games have been a flagship for the PlayStation's console graphical capability, from the PlayStation 1 all the way through to the PlayStation 4, and is often used to demonstrate the system's potential.
At the time of filming, the most recent Gran Turismo in development is for the PlayStation 5. Gran Turismo 7 was announced on the 11th of June 2020 and at the moment doesn't have a release date. I'm guessing that it will either come as a winter holiday 2021 or summer 2022 release.
From a gameplay standpoint, Gran Turismo had a standard arcade mode, but it's the simulation mode that really pulled in the hardcore petrol-headed video game fans. the ability to purchase vehicles from several manufacturer-specific shops, or more likely at the beginning of the game a used car dealer, and then tune their cars at the appropriate parts store for the best performance, had people talking about cars they had been working on down the pub with their friends, and you'd be forgiven for forgetting they were talking about a video game.
In a lot of ways, Gran Turismo was one of the first games that started to popularise video games and make them more mainstream. No longer was gaming just about science fiction, horror and fantasy action-adventure, side-scrolling beat-em-up fighting games. Video games now offered a more realistic form of escapism. People who used to tinker in their sheds with their lawnmower were now tinkering with their virtual cars in their living room. With a licensed testing system that had been implemented to guide players through skill development, prize money for races and events won, meaning that you could upgrade your existing car, sell it or buy a new one, collecting a garage full of vehicles was a sort of middle-aged Pokemon. I've heard many stories in the past of how Gran Turismo helped fathers and sons bond over a shared love of motorsport, both virtually and in real life.
Developed by Kazunori Yamauchi, who was the lead designer for the first two games on the original PlayStation, Yamauchi closely worked with Logitech, which resulted in the G-Force steering wheel, which was designed specifically for Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. Later on, whilst the game was still under the working title Gran Turismo 2000, demos of the game were given out at the PlayStation Festival. The demo allowed you to drive a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 5 in the Seattle circuit for 120 seconds. Yamauchi noted that the cars in the first two games were made up of 300 polygons each, whilst those in Gran Turismo 2000 were made up of 4,000 polygons each. This in turn meant that the game was taking longer to develop and finish, and it wasn't going to happen before the end of the year 2000. So the game was renamed Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec and set for a 2001 release. Thanks to the hardware and the processing power of the PlayStation 2, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec was far more visually impressive than the Gran Turismos that had come before it. However, because of the amount of work that was required to develop the game and the game being released early in the PlayStation 2's lifespan, the game only features 180 playable cars and 19 racing circuits. Naturally, when news of this came out, it had consumers worried, as Gran Turismo 2 had boasted 650 cars and 180 racing circuits. However, upon release, the stunning visuals and smooth gameplay clearly won consumers over, and the game was an instant success. During its launch, Sony did a massive publicity giveaway in North America, and gave away such prizes as personal car payments for a month, a day at Skip Barber Racing, as well as smaller prizes such as copies of the game and Gran Turismo themed shirts and hats. As the game was critically acclaimed upon release, and the lack of cars and tracks over Gran Turismo 2 seemed not to dissuade people from buying the game, Sony announced Gran Turismo Concept, a shorter version of the game. Gran Turismo Concept 2001 Tokyo featured the Tokyo Motor Show 2001 amongst its tracks, and concept cars such as the Nissan GT-R Concept 01. The game also came with a 64-page manual featuring images of all 51 cars available. This smaller, stripped-down version of Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec was also a commercial success, and Sony eventually released a further two Gran Turismo concept games, 2002 Tokyo Seoul and 2002 Tokyo Geneva, before beginning to focus on Gran Turismo 4. Upon completing Gran Turismo Concept, the player was given a save game with all licenses completed and 10 million credits to spend in GT3 A-Spec.
It's safe to say that video games based on sport are not my forte. Gran Turismo is probably one of the only sporting franchises I've taken notice of over the years. Personally, I didn't play Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec until after I'd played Gran Turismo 4, and whilst I immediately noticed the gameplay differences between A-Spec and 4, the game looked just as good and was still fun enough for me to sink a few weekends into playing it. But what about yourself? I'd love to hear from people who are fans of the series. Be sure to let me know any fun facts that I might have missed in the comment section down below, or maybe you've got a fond memory of the game or the series. Remember to like this video if you've enjoyed it and share it out with any other retro gaming or Gran Turismo fans you might know. And if you're not subscribed to the channel for more retro gaming shenanigans and offbeat British humour, be sure to do so.
As with any racing game, the overall objective of Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec is to win all available races and tests for various licenses in the game. In Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec, for every 25% of the game that you complete, the game awards you a prize car. The main mode of play, Gran Turismo mode, Simulation mode in the North American version, has a simple but well structured layout that allows you to choose from short races and beginner events to multi-hour endurance races, as well as rally events that can be played against friends. The more casual arcade mode is organised into stages that are made up of 5 to 6 track groups that you must complete on any difficulty setting before being allowed to progress to the next stage. The catch being that if you complete the stages on normal or difficult difficulty settings, you are able to unlock additional vehicles to use in arcade mode, time trial and 2-player battles. Whilst Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec doesn't have as many tracks as its predecessor, it has 19 courses that you can race on, 4 of which are dirt tracks and 14 of them have reverse variants.
It means you go around them backwards, it's not some kind of weird parallel parking exercise.
Whilst most of the circuits are fictional locations, California's Laguna Seca Raceway is a real-life racing location, and Côte d'Azur is heavily based on the Monaco Grand Prix circuit. There are a few negative changes over Gran Turismo 2. The torque limit and suspension damage for racers, the ability to race modify and the ability to add downforce to certain cars had been removed, which did come as a blow to some I'm sure, but I have to say I didn't really notice it as a negative. On the positive side though, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec did include 6 unlicensed versions of real-life Formula 1 cars that players could win by completing endurance races. These cars were named F686/M, F687/S, F688/S, F090/S, F094/H, and F094/S. Each name denotes a piece of information, such as the amount of cylinders in the engine, the year the chassis was raced, and its driver. For example, F094/S was a 10-cylinder 1994 season car driven by Ayrton Senna, and F686/M represented the 6-cylinder 1986 season car driven by Nigel Mansell.
Sadly though, the Formula 1 cars didn't feature in the UK PAL release. We had to make do with 2 Formula 1 cars named the Polyphony 001 and 002. And they weren't even based on real-life Formula 1 cars.
Other standout cars from Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec include the JGTC Lamborghini Diablo in the NTC/J version and 2 Lancia Stratoses. Also in the game's code and only accessible by use of a cheat device is a Porsche 911 GT3.
Again though, the Lamborghini Diablo and the Lancia Stratos and the Porsche 911 GT are all cut from the UK PAL release of the game. What even is the point of view?
Much like the Gran Turismos that came before it, during its time of release, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec received critical acclaim, like its predecessors. The critics loved its graphics, realism, soundtrack, sound design and controls. The game has appeared on some top 100 games lists, such as that by IGN in 2003, and it even appears in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott.
Right lad, that book is getting way too much publicity on this channel this month. Indeed, it is. If you want to see the book get mentioned even more, be sure to check out my Vida challenge. Yes, all through April I'm releasing a video every day about retro gaming facts. Make sure you're subscribed and have clicked the bell icon to be informed every time a new game fact video comes out.